and welcome to Who Are You, the Bobcats you know, the stories you don't. I'm your host, Joel Banner, inside the podcast studio at Quinnipiac University's School of Communications. And I am joined by a very special guest from the neighborhood, my very good friend, Christina Vittas. Christina, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joel. Happy to be here with you.
Christina, I know who you are, but for our listeners, tell me, who are you?
So I'm Christina Vittas. I'm a Quinnipiac class of 2020. I majored in advertising and integrated communications and minored in computer information systems. And now I'm a senior social media manager at Sesame Workshop, which is the nonprofit behind Sesame Street.
Awesome. Advertising and integrated communications in Sesame Street. We'll get into both of those things. But tell me, when you were growing up, did you watch Sesame Street and know I wanted to work in marketing there? What was younger Christina like?
Younger Christina loved all things, TV, movies, music, a lot of memories, hunkered downstairs, watching whatever VHS tape I could get my hands on. And then so far, DVR, all the things.
VHS tape was a thing you had to rewind before you brought it back to
Learn
Blockbuster.
that the hard way.
Our listeners may not know what a VHS tape is.
So true. But yeah, I've always loved media. And thankfully I had an older brother too to kind of guide me in that way as well. He's 5 years older and he always dreamed of being a sports broadcaster. So I always wanted to follow in his footsteps and kind of got interest based off of him as well.
And you took those classes in high school, right? So you had like specialized experience growing up.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to go to, I went to Wayne Hills High School, and there's a TV production program. It's a 4-year program. It's an elective you can pick, right? And my brother very much focused on the sports aspect of like play-by-play and things like that. And so truly on my first day of high school, that TV production teacher went up to me and was like, you have big shoes to fill. And I was like, you know what? You're so right. But they're going to be different. So I didn't focus on the sports. I focused on more of like video editing and making, like packages and music videos and anything fun that I could do. I started the video morning announcements at my high school. It was super fun.
Trendsetter.
Oh, yeah, we got to. And so I really enjoyed that. And I learned like the basics of video editing and things of that nature. And I knew that like I wanted to follow this like communications path. And funny enough, my first time at Quinnipiac was when I was a kid and my brother was looking at colleges.
You have a lot to thank your brother for, huh?
You know what? Yeah. Shout out to my brother, John. He's the best. And so I was brought on his sort of college searching journey. And I very much distinctly remember going to Quinnipiac for the first time. It was a pouring rain day. My mom was the only, crazy mom to say, no, we're still going to do this tour in the pouring rain.
Came all the way from New Jersey. She's not going to reschedule that.
Of course. No, we had to make the most of our
schedule.
Minutes. Of course. That's Mama Vittas. And so we had our ponchos and we took our tour around campus. And I just always had Quinnipiac in the back of my mind when it was my turn to look for a school. And I found that when it was my turn, it had option A, option B, option C for anything that I was interested in the world of communications. And if I so choose something beyond that. So it was a great, coming home from when I was younger, I feel.
So when you came to Quinnipiac, you said option A, B, and C. Mm-hmm. Did you not know you wanted to go right into advertising? Where did you start when you came?
Oh, definitely did not know from the get-go that I wanted to do advertising. I came in undecided, on paper, but I was kind of decided I wanted to do film, television. I came into school thinking I'm going to be a TV producer. That's my route. And then through the classes I was taking, through the student experiences, especially Q30, I got to kind of step my foot into what a real life job would be in film and TV and also journalism, both which majors I did declare at one point. And I kind of just discovered that wasn't my path. I had other strengths I could explore. And so from undecided to film TV to journalism, I landed on advertising and integrated communications. I just felt like I wanted to explore that end of storytelling and how you can do it beyond just hard journalism and more of a brand storytelling. And it worked out pretty well.
You mentioned Q30, which is the student-run television station here at Quinnipiac. We were both really involved in that. How did that contribute to helping you find your avenue that you wanted to study in coordination with the classes you were taking in your program?
Absolutely. So I remember I was a news producer. You were once news director.
I was once news director. The younger me was.
Yeah,
yes.
It was so fun. And, I was putting out a package a week and I was doing the work of like a journalist, like truly. Like we were covering real news on campus and beyond. And we treated it like a real newsroom. And that was a great experience because I had so much fun and made so many great friends. But I also realized this is not for me. Like, I don't think I want to pay my dues in that way. And I'm really grateful I learned that in the student experience route as opposed to graduating and doing my first job. While that totally happens and could still happen. But I'm happy I did that as a student and had that discovery there. So it was just I'm really grateful for that experience. And I don't know, I felt like I learned the hard skills and I wanted to expand my horizons when I decided to change major.
And like a lot of involvements here, you don't have to be a certain class year, right, to get right involved. You got right involved right from the get-go. You found out, hey, this wasn't for me. You changed your program. You landed in advertising and integrated communications.
I even came into Q30 a little bit later. I didn't do it day one. I at first wanted to be a student first and do the student things, join sorority world, did other things. And then I think I didn't join Q30 till sophomore year, I want to say, or at least then became a producer sophomore year.
Yeah, never too late to get involved.
Absolutely.
And you have been involved in other things as well. But in your advertising program, what is the course that you took away the most from? What was your favorite course that you still think about today during your work with Sesame Workshop?
I'm so proud to say that I use a lot of my degree in everyday tasks of my job. One, I fully took a social media management course in college, and that was incredible. We had this whole system where you could put in posts and curate the content for, I think it was a bag brand as the thing you were working on as the project. And it would then, sort of do its sort of AI calculation of how well would it perform. And I remember waiting to the last minute, but doing pretty well. And
it was like a whole simulation.
It was a whole simulation. And I ended up being, I really enjoyed that work. So I was like, oh, this is a kind of a seed planted through that class, which I'm very grateful for. But I use the general 101 graphic design, I literally took as a first year student, and I use those fundamentals every day in making graphics and sort of doing, working with our graphic designers at Sesame. And then, of course, I really value all the strategic communication. So truly writing, my capstone group, we still are in contact every so often and we're cheering on each other on all of our professional endeavors. And I think back to that work a lot for sure. So you mentioned your work with Sesame. Mm-hmm. You've had a couple different roles at the workshop. How did you start there? Yeah, I actually started as an intern. And funny enough, my aunt was looking for a job at the time, and she saw that they had posted a internship program for the summer. She sent it my way via email, and I was truly I think in a class, and I was like, oh, this is everything. I must apply. And so I locked myself into put myself into the R.L. Bernard Library and filled out my resume, application, some essays. I wanted this internship so badly that I knew I wanted to give it 110% on the application process. So I did bring my cover letter, my resume to the career resource office to review. I was I'm doing everything I can to make sure it's the most polished thing I can. Use all those resources, exactly. Right? Yeah, totally. And I applied and interviewed and sure enough got my summer internship at Sesame Workshop. And it was a really exciting time. It was the 50th anniversary of Sesame Street. So there was a lot going on. I'm pretty sure the day before I started, they had just named West 63rd Street in New York, Sesame Street. It was just so exciting. And pretty soon I realized, I would love to come back here as, a working professional one day. And so then, graduate Quinnipiac, just a whole global pandemic later. Right. They were hiring for part-time freelance work, and I jumped at the opportunity to join the team again. And here we are. And what is a typical day in your job now as a senior social media manager? Yeah, not every day is the same. But some things that I do, right, is content curation, content and calendar management. So I support on Sesame Street, Sesame Workshop channels, as well as our characters. So Elmo, Cookie Monster, Big Bird. There's a lot of furry friends on the internet, and I encourage everyone to go follow. But yeah, so managing their calendars and The Sesame Street gang, they are busy bees. They keep me on my toes. And whenever there's like activations and partnerships and clips from the show that we're about to start season 56 debuting, I help curate that content and put it on social platforms for everyone to see.
So your roles have evolved, your responsibilities have grown, right? Your impact has gotten larger. You came to Quinnipiac, you weren't quite certain where you wanted to be. You tried a whole bunch of things out, right? It seems like a lot of progression and success. What do you recommend to students who aren't really sure where they want to be, where they want to go, but they still want to be successful in the ways that you have as well? What would you say to them?
Thanks so much. That was so kind, really kind, flattering question. I would say that you really have to try everything. Like, I think as a student is the time to say yes to as much as you can. And I'm really grateful for that. Upon reflection, I think that my student involvement really prepared me for my first job and thereafter.
And it was more than Q30. It was you were in Panhellenic Council. You were president of your sorority, right?
Oh my, Joel, you know me too well. I love it. Yes,
I have your resume right here.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, I really think like two distinct roles that really stand out to me was my sorority world experience, right? I was a chapter president at Chi Omega at Quinnipiac, and I was also on Panhellenic Council, like you said. And Panhellenic was the first experience of managing a social media account. I managed the Instagram for Panhellenic, and that was such rich experience. And yes, I was making flyers and kind of doing, you know, everyday grunt work, but it was like really beneficial.
You're making an impact, right?
Yeah.
You're making an impact here that you've later taken all those experiences to Sesame now.
Yeah, I learned how important social can be, like truly as information sharing, but also community building. And then even with that, you know, that's like more professional facing, but being an RA was also an experience that I really value and I think prepared me for all the aspects of life in the sense of tough conversations, building community, building friendships, building trust with others, conflict mediation, putting on events, right? Like we put on some big scale events up on York Hill and I'm really proud of that. And highly recommend being an RA if you have the opportunity and can apply.
Yeah, as an RA, a resident assistant is the full term of what an RA stands for. There's a lot involved and to unpack in there, especially guiding your fellow students through their college experience as well in that context.
Yeah, super rewarding. And I also loved the staff, right, of like my fellow students that I got to work with for that. I was just with some of my past RAs this past weekend. It was so great. So long-lasting relationships with the long hours that you also put in, because it is a job for sure, but a rewarding one at that.
So building experience in the classroom, experience in your involvements, community connections, right, that you still work with now in your role at Sesame. Looking back on the success you've had so far, what have you learned the most?
My goodness.
Sorry, that's a hard question.
Yeah,
right? Follow up the nice ones with a hard one.
Yeah, I mean, I think a standout lesson is really that you're so capable if you want to stand up for a challenge type of thing. So, right, it sounds like a pretty nice runway, right? I started as an intern and then became part-time freelance and then full-time and so on and so forth. But it really was all the pre-work that prepared me for my first job and every challenge thereafter. So I think practicing like you want to play and then taking it into the real world, like being prepared as much as possible. I'm so grateful for that. And it just helped me feel more confident and more equipped for in the workplace and beyond of like adulthood, you know.
And just believing in yourself too. I'm sure there were moments where you weren't quite sure, but you have yourself. You have to have those positive thoughts and think about what you want to do and apply yourself in that way.
Oh, yes. I had some imposter syndrome for sure. When I had my little crash out run to Barnes & Noble to get a self-help book or two, that happens. But I think like leaning on your friends, right? Like you for advice and, seeking support whenever you need it.
So you're back here today for this podcast. Yeah. You've contributed back to Quinnipiac in many ways since you've graduated. What draws you to keep contributing to the Quinnipiac community still as an alumni?
I mean, I really, if you can't tell, loved my student experience, right? And I also felt that there were a lot of alumni that came back to support and, were an inspiration to me when I was a student. So if I can do that, I'm for sure going to do that. And, I'm still deeply connected with a lot of my friends that I made here at Quinnipiac. And I think that's like, you don't always get that depending on where you go to school and just like life. So it brings me joy, and it brings my friends joy too, to come back and give the latest scoop of what's happening on the South Quad campus,
We're doing that next, taking you on a tour of the brand new site and School of Business buildings on the South Quad. They're beautiful.
I feel like I have to keep up with Quinnipiac. That's the situation here.
We have to keep up with you. That's how that goes.
So fun.
Well, Christina, thank you so much for joining me today on the show. It was great to have you, and look forward to seeing your continued success in the world.
Thanks, Joel, and likewise. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed today's episode of Who Are You, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and find other episodes on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube podcasts. Until next time, when I ask my next guest, who are you? I'm Joel Vanner. Bye for now.